like to call to order our special city council meeting, April 8, 2019, 6 p.m. Madam, roll call.
Mayor Ronnie Felder.
Here.
Councilperson Troderick McCoy.
Here.
Councilperson Shirley Lanier.
Here.
Councilperson Douglas Lawson.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Julia Botel.
Here.
Chairperson Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
City Manager Hoskins.
Present.
City Clerk Anthony is present. Assistant City Attorney Lina Busby. Here. You may proceed.
We'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Chair Pro Tem Botel. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Lawson.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier.
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Pro Tem Botel.
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, we do not have any additions, deletions, or substitutions. Disclosures by council.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I did have very brief conversations with a couple, probably three of the candidates, to the extent that I referred them to the city manager and city attorney. And I had discussions with O.L. Wingo of the FCCMA.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Lawson.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier.
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Pro Tem Botel.
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay. We don't have anything on the consent agenda, no unfinished business, no petitions and communications for filings, no awards and presentations, no public hearings. Public comments should be restricted to the issues, matters, or topics pertinent to the city of Riviera Beach. Please be reminded that the City Council has adopted rules of decorum governing public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the entrance of the council chambers. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the council chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, and/or the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Public comments shall begin at 7:30 unless there is no further business of the City Council, which in that event it shall begin sooner. We will make sure that we keep if we're here beyond 7:30, we won't close out the acceptance of public comments until 7:30. Okay. Any person who would like to speak during public comments, please fill out a public comment card located on the table directly outside of the council chambers and give it to the staff before the public comment section is announced. And as I said, we will keep it open until 7:30. Regular item number 1.
Discussion and deliberation regarding hiring an interim city manager.
Okay, Madam Manager.
Madam Chair, during the City Council meeting on April 3rd, staff was directed to create a timeline for hiring an interim city manager and provide resumes from interested applicants from Florida City and County Management Association, also any other persons that were interested in the position. What you have before you tonight is a copy of the proposed timeline, a copy of the resumes, and the job description for the position. You will also need to decide tonight, this position does not have a starting salary, so you would need to discuss the starting salary for this position.
Okay. So for this particular item, is it Dr. Botel or Ms. Eureka going to lead us in this process?
Ms. Eureka has not made it here yet, so I can start the discussion. We can start with the timeline if you would like.
Okay. All right.
So what you have before you is a copy of the timeline, and we are requesting that on April 9th, after the council review the resumes, that you provide staff, Eureka and myself, with your top 3 candidates. You select your first choice by noting your number 1, your number 2, and your number 3 choice. And then we'll put those candidates in a matrix. And with the matrix will decide the top 3 candidates. And we're asking for that information by April 9th. And then on Saturday, April 13th, if everyone is available, we will have interviews here at City Hall starting at 9 a.m.
Madam Manager.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we select our first, second, and third choice, it will be submitted by email? How are we submitting that?
Yes,
by
ma'am.
tomorrow? By
Via
email?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then it says, number 3, if there are 4 candidates, council is to narrow to 3 candidates. How would that process work from there?
We can either add it on the meeting for Wednesday,
Mhm.
or we would have to send out the 4 candidates again for you to narrow, come up with your top 3, and keep sending the email until we receive a top 3.
Okay. All right, so any questions on that part from the council?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead,
sorry.
Councilperson Lanier.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What am I supposed to say?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
That's okay.
Madam Chair, if we are going to narrow it down to 3 candidates or 4 candidates, I certainly would not like to have it on the next meeting, which is Wednesday, another special meeting. I don't want anything to interfere with that meeting, so if we're going to have it or we're going to discuss it, it needs to be to the point where we get down to 3 candidates. And then we can bring it back to the council for the public to also weigh in.
Okay, so if we have the 4 and we can't get it down to the 3 publicly, the only way we would be able to do that is if we met. And if we can't meet before Friday, then we won't be able to have the interviews on Saturday. So that would be, if hypothetically, if they, for whatever reason, we can't get it down beyond the 4. We're gonna have to come together at some point and have a conversation. And the only way we can have that conversation is if we're in the public. And so if we're not able to have a meeting between tomorrow and Friday, then we won't be able to have the interviews on, unless we just agree to have 4 on Saturday. And if we have the 4 on Saturday, then we'll just have to narrow it down from there.
Madam Chair.
Let's just hope we don't have more than 3. Were you finished, Councilperson Lanier?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Councilperson Lawson.
The 4 candidates that were narrowed down to were the ones given to us by ICMA, correct?
FCCMA, Florida
FC.
City. Yes.
Okay. So are we opening up our selection pool to any of the department heads as well for this interim position?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yes, that an email was sent to all departments on Friday to see if they were interested, and they were given instructions to submit their resumes by 12 noon on Friday.
Okay. Did we receive any?
No, sir. All the resumes that I received are here. I did receive one today, but the person said that they would withdraw since it's late.
Good. Thank you.
So it's only those that are listed as Bob Vitas, J. Drago, M. McNeese, L. McNall, Philip Harris, and P. Taylor. Those are the only ones that we're considering for this particular selection. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So out of the 6, we would be submitting our top 3, and to Ms. Hoskins and Ms. Irvin. And from there, those 3 names will be revealed to us. If it's an issue where we're unable to get down to the 3, I think it would be okay if maybe during a comment time, if you like to maybe send an email out, or on Wednesday during a comment, because I mean, if we're going to stick to Saturday for the interview, we're going to have to meet again to narrow it down if we can't get it down to 3. And if we want to say we're okay with it being 4, then that's fine too, because at the end of the day on Saturday, we're going to have to narrow it down to 1 during the interview. So what's your pleasure?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I wanted to know, how does it work if we do get people within the city to apply for the position?
The deadline is up.
Was today?
Friday. They
Oh,
had
it's
to-
past Friday, okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I want to also make it very clear, someone pointed out to me that the job announcement says city manager rather than interim city manager. I want to be certain that people are aware who are applying, and for the general public, that this is an interim position until we have our full-time city manager back.
Okay.
And if it would be of any help to anyone, I listed all of the applicants, indicated whether or not they had city manager experience, indicated whether they had an MBA, and how many years of service in administration. If you like, I can pass this out to my colleagues.
And then we can
the
provide
audience
some to the clerk so she can give it to the public.
with the help of examining the candidates.
Councilman McCoy, do you have any comments? Mayor Felder, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
do wonder, and I would like to have some input from HR. They've been somewhat absent from this process so far, and I would like to know, do they have any recommendations? I looked at whether or not the candidates had city manager experience, if they had an MBA, and so on. Are there any other criteria by which we might judge their appropriateness that I haven't thought of?
All right.
So if HR could give us some guidance with that, in that regard, I think it would be helpful.
Madam Manager, what time was Ms. Eureka supposed to be here?
6. I understand she's on her way, though. However, she is on her way.
Mr. McCoy, can you pull your mic?
You don't have them? Okay. No, it's not.
What is that bent down?
No, that's something else. Okay. We'll get it for you.
All right.
It's missing.
All right. So, huh?
The more mics.
Slide to your right, to your left,
Do we have to do electric or regular?
to the left. Everybody come down.
To the left.
All right, there you go. There you go. All right. And pull your mic that way. No, that's yours. Pull it.
Oh, where's his then?
Oh,
Right,
gee.
that's
We've
this
never.
way. There we
Okay.
go.
Are we good now?
There you go.
Whoa. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, and so from that point there, we go on to item number 4, Miss Manager. Can you finish the process?
And then interviews, repeat the process until there are 3 candidates to interview. And then item number 5, interviews will be scheduled for Saturday, April 13th. City Council is requested to meet here at City Hall at 8:15, and the interviews will begin sharply at 9 a.m. And then upon completion of the interviews, the City Council, via consensus, will choose their number 1 candidate. No
Chair.
vote, just consensus.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
City Manager indicated that we would be discussing salary tonight, but on this timeline, it says that the salary will be discussed on Saturday. So I guess my question is, do we not have a range for an interim city manager or city manager with which we can gauge, how?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
There's no range for an interim city manager. However, when I was when I served as interim city manager, my starting salary was $150,000, and that's what the council voted on back in November for an interim city manager. So it would be up to you all, to the board.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
should we have
Put your
that,
mic down.
should we have that already together before Saturday, the interview?
Have
That's
what, the
somewhere-
amount?
Yeah, the amount.
We should.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we can
think so.
certainly
Yeah,
discuss, and so that they're aware of what, you know, what the range is. You know, we would like to try to identify, have Ms. Eureka give us, or look and see what type of ranges there are for interim city manager, or we can go by what we've done in the past and be able to have that available for them when they come on Saturday.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to express my disappointment at the just confusion, disorganization of how this is being presented. Councilwoman Botel had to give us herself some qualifying criteria for the people who we're trying to consider. There's no spreadsheet to tell us, you know, if they had experience before as a city manager. There is most city managers have public administration degrees, master's degrees. There's nothing to show us that. There was no salary range given to us, just suggested to us to be able to even have a discussion about it. And it's just very frustrating to come to a meeting and not have the stuff that you need to be able to make an informed decision.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
it was just my impression, or at least from the agenda, that we're just discussing the process and the timeline, right? And we are not ranking anyone at this point.
We're
am I
not
right?
ranking anyone today, no. We need to agree that this is the process that we're going to move forward with, and identify if we need to meet another day to finalize it, that we could discuss that now, because we won't be able to come together to figure out if we need to meet again to narrow it down, or if we're just gonna, if it gets down to 4, then, you know, we need to be on the, understand that we may need to meet again if we can't get it done, get it down to 3 or 4 by Saturday.
Madam Chair?
So,
Hold on 1 minute. Go ahead.
So if I understand correctly, we're gonna send our top 3 back to the city manager
Yes,
by tomorrow.
yes.
Is that 5 p.m.?
Ms. Manager,
Yes, sir.
hold on 1 minute. Hold on.
Now, so this is, you know, I guess I want to understand. So how was this advertised? What was the publication to point to these 6 individuals to apply? Was there some framework? Is this the same advertisement right here? Because all of this happened so quick, and, you know, we were in between trying to get devices and email communications. Is this the advertisement that was presented to the applicants, what we have here in the backup?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
The advertisement was through Florida City County Managers Association. They reached out to their managers in transition and sent them a couple of newspaper articles and you know, stated that the city is looking for an interim manager. Please notify her if you were interested in the position. That was the only advertisement that was put out, and via word of mouth. I know during the council meeting on last Wednesday, it was stated that, you know, we need to move quickly, so that's why we are here tonight. There was no formal advertisement for the interim city manager position.
Okay, so of these 6 candidates that we have in front of us, you know, many of which we just got the information today, and in my case this afternoon, are they familiar, or did they agree to work within the parameters that we have set forth? Because this may very well narrow out 6 down to 3. So guess my suggestion, what I'm going to, is saying whatever framework we have in place about the salary, about it being short term, about working within these guidelines, be sent to them, because we possibly can. An applicant may want to withdraw, saying, "Okay, well, clearly I'm not going to relocate from, I don't know where, maybe the northern end of of the state of Florida, just to come down here for a 2-month period if the salary is not something that's, amenable to what they're looking for." So, because, who knows, it may not even be worth their time, because now we're going back tomorrow to rank candidates. I don't even know if they're even willing to come on a short notice. Like, I don't know where they told that this is a position that we're looking to fill in 2.5 weeks or anything. So we really need to kind of back up a little bit before we really get into ranking candidates. Make sure that everyone is understanding what is in front of us and what we have a need for.
So Councilman McCoy, being that Dr. Botel brought this issue to us last week, I think you've kind of done some of the background work, so perhaps you can bring everyone up to speed and give their explanation as to where we are and what it is that these people were told.
Sure. I made it very clear to Oel Wingo, who is the person responsible for reaching out to managers in transition, that this was a temporary position. She informed me that we could either do a 60 or a 90-day contract. I suspect we can do a 75 or whatever. Everyone who was reached out to, everyone to whom the FCCMA reached out, hate that preposition at the end, understands that it's a temporary position. To my knowledge, none of them are expecting to become a permanent city manager here, and they also understand that we need someone in the very, very near future. In fact, one gentleman with whom I spoke said he was available right away. So I agree with Councilperson McCoy that we should provide these people, I was going to say men, but there is a woman here. We should provide these people with a salary at least, so that they can say, well, I knew it was interim, and I knew it was going to be in the very near future, but I'm not coming to Riviera Beach for $150,000. So I think, or maybe they'll say, yeah, great idea. But I think that's an important piece of information that we need to provide them with. I agree completely. But as far as I know, with the exception of the person who came to us not through the FCCMA, but by recommendation from a citizen, all of those people were informed by Oel Wingo that it was in fact an interim, and that it was something that would be needed in the very, very near future.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
time frame that was advised to the candidates of how long we would need them. What was disclosed to these potential candidates?
Go ahead. 60 to 90 days.
Okay. I'll follow up with that. The concern I have with that is that with a 60 to 90 day process, it took us to receive our last permanent city manager about 6 months to find.
No, you're saying how long will the process be to bring them on?
Well, for them to be here. How long are they expecting to be here as an
To
interim?
stay here.
To stay here.
60 to 90 days.
Okay. So I guess my follow-up to that is that if it took us almost 6 months to find our last permanent city manager, and these interims are only expecting 60 to 90 days, this is going to be a process that's going to put us in a predicament in the next 60 to 90 days if we do not have a permanent city manager in place. On Wednesday, we do have further discussions about the city manager that we've spoken about, but as of right now, the process that we have is, I don't want to put ourselves in a position to be jeopardized in the next 60 to 90 days with an interim person. Also, follow up to that is, I would like for us to open up the ability to look at some of our current department heads, because from my understanding is that if they received notice on Friday and they had a deadline of Friday afternoon for a resume, that period may not give them enough time if they don't have a ready resume to submit that's sufficient for council review. So two of the things that I'd like for us to take a look at is also, city manager, what time frame was the staff given to submit a resume, and also the current time frame for the interim individuals from FCCMA and the individuals that we're looking at right now. If they're only expecting 90 days, that's going to put us in a position for hiring, for searching, and for bringing in a city manager.
So, Madam Manager, what was the timeline for the department heads to apply and put in their resume?
An email was sent out on Friday morning, and they were asked if they were interested in the position, then they should submit their resumes by 12 noon on Friday. On Thursday, during our introduction meetings with the new council members, I did also notify or spoke with the department heads and asked them if they were interested in the position, then, you know, they should be getting their resume updated and prepared. So it was mentioned on Thursday morning, and then again on Friday morning, an email was sent out to all the department heads to submit their resumes by 12 noon on Friday.
So, sorry, City Madam.
Go ahead.
So a formal request was given to them Friday morning to submit by 12 noon. That's kind of short notice to accept a qualified individual to submit their resume. And I would not, as a department head, submit a resume for a city manager position and then be turned down because of an inferior product. So what I would like to do is give them an opportunity to possibly reach out again and see if we have enough time to submit. I just don't want to rush this process. It seems like that's what we're doing right now because we're in a position, and I understand that we've been left into this position, but at the same time, we have to make the right decision. So I want us to figure out what that is together.
Okay, so what amount of time do you want her to open it back up for the department heads to be able to submit?
If it's the pleasure of the board, if we can have at least till Wednesday, give them another 24 to 48 hours to submit, give the council enough time to review the applicants and still do an interview process for Saturday. My question would be to City Manager, when do we need that list of names for interviews by? And does that have to be put onto the public? Does that have to be discussed with the public?
The initial timeline had April 9th, so we could contact the candidates and make sure they are here on Saturday. If you're going to open it up for the department heads, then are you saying you would give them to Wednesday, maybe 12 noon, and then I would have to send out another list for you all to rank your number 1, number 2, and number 3 candidate, and we would have to.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Can you just go ahead and find out from them, have them tell you by tomorrow morning whether or not they're interested? At least we'll know the names. They have until Wednesday, Wednesday at 12 or at 12 to submit the resume. At least we'll have the names, and they can be added into that bunch that we have, and we can submit our names. They need to let you know by tomorrow, maybe 12 o'clock tomorrow. Just a verbal, an email contact to let you know that department head if they're interested, okay? And then that way you're able to give it to us.
Madam Chair, I have a serious concern about opening this up to department heads. They were given an opportunity on Friday. My concern is this. We have a serious lack of administration in this district. We know that district. Listen to me, I'm back in the school district. In this city, and we know that. We have interims here, we have interims everywhere. If we choose a department head to serve as a city manager, interim city manager, what happens to that person's department? Let's say we choose Dawn Wynn, for example. What happens to Lina Busby over there? And she gets dumped with all the work that Dawn would have been doing. I have a serious problem with appointing a department head when we have so many people in interim positions. We have so many people who are, holding the city together, who are running departments. I do not believe we should choose an existing department head to put in this position. I believe strongly that we should choose someone who has city manager experience. A number of the people on this list have city manager. 1, 2, half of them have city manager experience, and others have other administrative experience, whether it's at the county level or a district level. So I am concerned about opening this up to a district, rather a
Department head.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any comments regarding that issue?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
My thought process with opening it to a department head would give us an opportunity because what was disclosed to these individuals was a 60 to 90-day period. We have another meeting coming up this week. So to discuss the elephant in the room, if we go forward with the direction of bringing in our previous city manager, which is on the topic of discussion on Wednesday, then a lot of these individuals that we're going to be vetting on Saturday will maybe be here for 30 days, 60 days, where we can appoint an interim city manager for a short period of time, depending on what process we're taking. Wednesday is going to dictate a lot of the direction that we have to go, which will be a follow-up to this. But right now, to interview someone from the outside, when we have the ability of staff that can handle it, most of our department heads have assistants. They have assistants to the department that will allow for them to get their work done and to still operate effectively. We have over 60 vacant interim positions in our city. So yes, I do agree with Dr. Botel when there are a lot of tasks and roles, but we're looking at a 30 to 60-day window if we're going with the direction of a previous city manager, or a 6-month window if we're going out to a national search. So we really have to take this process seriously. And I understand, and I do agree with Dr. Botel that she has concerns with the level of work that the department heads have, but I just don't want to rush this process like we're doing right now.
All right.
Madam Chair, we do have public comment cards on this on discussion.
Okay. How about we stop for a minute, and then since we've explained the process, and let public comment go, and then you come back, or do you want to speak before? The agenda item, public comment.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to, if I can,
Yes,
just follow up to Mr. Lawson. While I understand his concern, I don't want to start that conversation until he finishes out the timeline, and that's what I was looking for. So if he suggests, Councilman Lawson, if you suggest that we open it back up for department heads till Wednesday, I'm asking you if you can lay out the rest of the timeline, because we're up against the clock. I want to be open and fair, but I mean, in theory, we got to come up with some sort of relative time frame before we just arbitrarily decide on Wednesday. Then what happens to the remaining time? Because we're already set to be here on Wednesday, excuse me, and Saturday. So now all of that, systematically has to be pushed back. So if you can kind of offer up something beyond Wednesday, I'm certainly open to hearing it. I'm not so sold on it, but I just want to see what's your idea for the rest of the process.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, we're essentially asking for an additional 24 hours, if that's the time frame we're giving our department heads to submit a resume, because we have to, as a council, decide on who we're reviewing. So we're asking for an additional 24 hours added to this time frame and still keeping our schedule intact.
So everything else remaining equal? Okay, that's it, Madam Chair.
All right, Councilwoman Lanier, did you want to add something before we go to comments? Okay. All right, Madam Clerk.
Reverend William Burrs, Bessie Brown, Willis Williams.
Burrs is gone? No, he's not gone. Oh, okay. Okay, we'll come back to him.
Good evening, Bessie
Good
Brown.
evening.
I don't know how much more discussion you all plan to do after the public speaks, but I would just like to know if we could be given an opportunity to speak. If you all continue, we get some more information. Tonight, I'm saying, well, I don't think we would be in this predicament provided Mr. Councilperson Botel just have. I think an email could have been sent to Karen to go to HR and have all of this taken care of instead of councilman reaching out. That's like you're doing HR's work, and that's not necessary. You follow protocol and let it happen. And then you all had some. This is not the first time you got this, because you got copies of this at the meeting Wednesday. So you had time to read. You should have had time to read all of that, because I have the same copies. And one person in there, Van Ness or something. He was in there twice. I don't know if it's a he or him. I'm gonna tell you right now. But the idea of it is that I don't know why you're struggling, because it should have been. You have that information. It should have gone, but if it had gone to HR and HR had done what they needed to do, instead of having Botel to interfere in the process, instead of having it done you all may have gotten the things the way that you needed. My concern is that you all please follow protocol. HR has a responsibility and a job to do some things that she needs to do properly without anybody else interfering, and that way you all will be within the timelines and whatever needs to be done, and you can follow the process as that you need to follow. I really would appreciate if you all would just. I don't see where it's a rush, because I don't know when they went out and got and advertised for that position at that time, how long these have been sitting. But I'm sorry that you all are in the predicament that you're in tonight, because it really was not advertised. You know, it's so much stuff that you don't know, and I'm in the same position. The only thing is that, you know, we can procrastinate, but this should have been done by 3 months after Karen was made permanent. But you're here now, so you have to deal with it, and I hope you all deal with it in a better manner.
Thank you.
Reverend William Burrs. Willis Williams.
Madam Chair, Council, Mayor,
Good evening.
congratulations to all of you all was won. I is here just talking about a interim city manager. You all inherit, may I say, a bowl of spaghetti. Now you got to try to straighten it out. And not starting much with this past council. I worked for the city for 30 years, and I know for a fact that there used to be an assistant to every department head in this city. And that's what you need to get back to. How would you feel if you come to a job and you work there and applied yourself for position when they come over and overlook you? You wouldn't feel too well about it. I feel that Ms. Karen, she worked here for this city for a long time. She ought to know somebody by now who could step in her place and take over this position without y'all interfering. It's just an interim job. You don't have to have a PhD to run this city. I urge each of y'all, check the history of this city. Assistant to department head was created for a purpose, and its train is off the track when it's come to that. And I wish you all was new now, because somebody gonna try to pull some tricks over your head because you think you don't know. And I thank you, lady, for what you did by giving me all these resumes when somebody gave you a part of them. Think for yourselves and check somebody who you could trust, don't work for the city and history of the city, and give you some pregnant information. And you will be not somebody who's looking for something for themselves. I don't want no job. I'm not looking for no job. And the city can't do anything for me what it done for me already. And I appreciate the city because I work for it, and it's been good to me. I never came to this podium, asked nobody since I retired to do me a favor, no times. I'm concerned about the total city. And for employees who come here, give them the incentive to go to school and prepare themselves when the position come open. When I came to this city in 1969, I worked in the garage as a mechanic helper. I went to school for a mechanic. Then I went to start working in the public works department over for a mechanic, for a carpenter helper. I went to school for a carpenter. Then I became the carpenter. I kept going to school. I became a foreman of that department. I kept going to school. When I retired, I was assistant director of that department because I went to school and opportunities came. Let your employees go to school and prepare themselves and give them the job. I'm quite sure somebody in this city as a department head could take over this job until y'all get a permanent city manager. Don't overlook the employees. I'm quite sure you all will feel bad if you work on a job all these years and a position come up and they overlook you. Think about your employees. That would give them an incentive to go to school and apply themselves. Please look, and it'll save you some time, it'll save the city some money, and etc. Don't think these people are too dumb to run this city. They don't take a PhD to manage the city. They don't. You got a system. The smartest person got people smart around them to help them do the job. I'm quite sure if y'all would let her make that decision, that problem won't be over y'all head. Let her look through these employees and find somebody who can step in her place. It's just on a temporary job. That's all it takes. And y'all have less problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Willis Williams, Mary Brim.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
And congratulations to all of you on your victory. You know, you hear this go on, and we're back where we started from. And I know I'm like Reverend Burrs. We've been kicking this can down the road for 47 years. We all been working for this city in and out. I probably worked in every department that the city has had. And Mayor, I'm gonna put something on your shoulders this afternoon because a lot of y'all probably don't even remember that Clara Williams took over the city manager's position at one point in this city because we got without a city manager. So if you get to the point where you cannot make a firm decision, he's running a nonprofit organization over there every day. It's some food for thought. I mean, don't bring someone in here with this turmoil that we're supposed to have and have these people saying that things are totally in an uproar in our city. It's not that. We can do better if we want to. But we got to start doing the right thing. Start looking among yourselves. Some of you guys right here, I know you're qualified. I know it's a lot of qualified retirees in this city that can take care of this job for 30 to 60, 90 days. Why bring somebody in here to create animosity between your employees and stuff? That just doesn't make sense. So you got to think on those bases too. Just don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We got to do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Brown.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor Felder, Chair Botel, Assistant Chair Miller, Botel, and the rest entire council. I totally agree with Ms. Lanier when she suggested that this was suggestions that was given. Suggestions that was given. I totally disagree about appointing this position to the interims. That word interim speaks there also. Because it was said that, okay, we do not have time for on-the-job training. It is so much at stake here. And I would suggest Ms. Billy Brooks, why I would suggest Ms. Billy Brooks. She's a part of this community. She knows the fundamentals of the government. She has sat there. She has that managerial, and she has that skill set, and plus on top, she is a connector. There you go. 60 days or 90 days. We can give this position to Miss Billy Brooks. She is familiar with the history here. She knows how to read budgets. Billy is well-rounded. I do not have anything against the interim people in these departments, but no. You have to look at. Karen was the city manager. She didn't appoint any of them as directors, so that too speaks another volume there. So obviously too, if they want to go to school, this city provides that type of education. But we are in a critical moment here in our city. And then even if you brought someone else in here, it's so many devils here, they will be entwined in their ears. Ms. Brown is going to say that. And that's a true fact with this city here. We will be right back to the same old scale set that we have here now. Ms. Brooks, she will do well in those 60 or 90 days. And then the time frame is just obsolete. You all are new council people here. And I said before, do not allow them to rush you. I know that she wants to get out of here. That's why Miss Billy Brooks would fit perfectly in this criteria. And when this was brought up, it was talked in the communities, in different settings, that Miss Brooks would be fine for this city here. So I'm asking you, along with others, to consider that. You bring somebody new in here, and the devil will surely get in their ears. And you will be right back to the same moment of time as we are here today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's the end of the public comment. All right, council. So we come to a consensus to include department heads, provide them an opportunity to get with Ms. Hoskins by tomorrow to express their interest in the interim city manager position. They will have until Wednesday at 12 p.m. to submit their resumes. Department heads, council? Okay. I know, I heard your opinion already. So, Ms. Eureka, we were waiting for you. Thank you for coming. Can you come up, please? So I know there was a question regarding the salary range with the job advertisement that went out. First of all, when it went out, did it say interim city manager, or where was it advertised? Was it just to FCCM?
Eureka Urban Human Resources Department. This position it wasn't advertised. The FCCMA came about from the contact from Dr. Botel. So there was not an official advertisement. Therefore, there has not been a salary set. Previously, when we started a couple of years ago, you all made a determination that we would start at the minimum of 150. And it's up to you where you want to set the salary for this particular filling at this time.
Okay. All right. So are we comfortable with the 150, at least for initially, and then we can get past that part of it? And if we are looking at least being the minimum, go ahead, Councilman Lawson.
What does our budget say in regards to the salary? What is the range for our budget for the city manager position?
Madam Chair, the FY19 budget, I think it was close to 180 or 190 for the position for city manager.
For the permanent city manager position.
Right, for the permanent.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just the HR director said it wasn't officially advertised. I have a little problem with that it wasn't actually officially advertised so that, more than one group of people can see it. I mean, if it wasn't advertised, then nobody really saw it.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I asked whether or not it was appropriate in an emergency situation to reach out to the FCCMA, and was told it was appropriate. Yes, I want to confirm that with the city attorney. I was, as you might have seen from my reaction at our last meeting, I am fully aware that HR is not my job. I am fully aware that it is not up to a council person to go out there and look for an interim city manager. We are in a desperate situation. Our current city manager is leaving on April 18th. What's today? The 8th? 10 days from now. Oh, no. Is it the 8th? Yeah. 10 days from now, we will be without a city manager. I had asked the city attorney to reach out over a month ago, to the ICMA to see if they had somebody. These are people who have been acting as city managers. They have been in a position of city manager. They have as much as 30 years experience, and they are between jobs. These are very appropriate candidates. The FCCMA is a well-known, actually they have an international organization of city managers. This one happens to be the Florida CCMA. They are very appropriate in terms of the person to whom we should look for guidance in regard, especially given that it is an emergency situation. Now, would it have been better if our HR department had advertised this 3 months ago? Absolutely, but they didn't, okay? They didn't. And so we are looking for, and you talk about rushing the process, you're right. We are rushing the process because we have 10 days. 10 days, and this city is without a city manager. And if you don't think that rushing the process is important and appropriate, then I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree, because I do think it's appropriate to rush this process.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
And no disrespect to Councilwoman Botel, but, during several city council meetings, I asked for direction on hiring a city manager, and none was given. No one wanted to talk about it. No one wanted to bring it up, mention it. So several city council meetings, I asked for direction. I wouldn't put it all on HR. The council has to give direction, and everything was wait till after the election.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Well, I am thankful for Dr. Botel taking the initiative to try to get this done. I have pause and hesitation with it not being advertised, with us reaching out to just one organization for this pool of candidates, and for Dr. Botel having interaction with the candidates already and reaching out and speaking to them individually. So for us to have transparency with the entire body, I would say we do have 10 days, yes, but we as a council have the ability to appoint a city manager. So if it gets to a position where we have to appoint a city manager in the interim, we can do that to allow for us to have somebody oversee our city. We're not in desperate need. We're not going to make desperate moves. So I want us to take our time, and we will make the right decision, but we're going to decide as a council to do it the right way. If we haven't advertised this publicly, I don't want this small pool of individuals to be our only base that we're going to pick to oversee our city for the next 60, 90, 180 days.
All right, so with that being said, so we have a couple of options here to think about. One, to go with the process in which we've already started, that we've talked about tonight, or to amend the timeline. And if we're going to amend the timeline, we need to hash out exactly what that looks like. And if we're talking about allowing department heads as well as publicly posting this, what amount of days are we going to allow for this to be posted and advertised? What is going to be the commitment in terms of having the interview process? And hopefully being able to get this somewhere around in the middle of next week if we had to push it back any days. Today is the 8th, so the 17th would be the Wednesday, and the 18th is your last day, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So with knowing that, well, let me back up in response to Ms. Hoskins' comment. She was absolutely correct in that several of us did not want to move forward with hiring of a city manager so close to the election time. So that did happen, and I'm sure most of us understood where that would put us, and I'm okay with that. I don't regret not moving forward at that time. I thought for me that was the best thing that should be done, but I did understand that we will have a very short time between her leaving and the time that the elections happened. And so for me, I'm okay with the fast pace of the hiring of an interim, because it's just that, an interim. But I do feel that there are probably a few department heads, if they are interested, that could participate in this process. And as I said before, I know a lot of those departments have interim people in it. And a lot of them are understaffed as it is. But I feel that with some support, if there's some areas where we need to hire temporary people in certain lower positions to make sure that we continue, we're only talking about a 60, 90-day period. Obviously, we're not going to pull someone and let a department suffer. So that is not, what we're looking to do either. But I am in support of if there's a department head that is able to carry out the position. So with that being said, we do have an opportunity to open it up if that is what you all would like to do. But I think we have to leave here tonight knowing exactly what this timeline is going to look like from beginning to end in terms of how many days do we want it to be advertised. Once it's closed off, when are we going to come back to discuss, or are we going to just submit the names? And what would be the final day to do the interview? So if there's someone that wants to weigh in on how we would like to move forward, or at least give some suggestions on the other options. Yes.
Well, it seems that there is at least some interest in having department heads be participants, and so why don't we go with the deadline of Wednesday, which was mentioned earlier. Doug, is that right? Deadline of Wednesday for department heads to submit their names. If we can get, it's not like we would have to look at their resumes deeply. We know them all. So we know if there's a department head that's interested, we know who that person is. So we could take a look at these 6 plus whichever department heads come in. And then the timeline, as I believe Councilperson McCoy mentioned earlier, the timeline could pretty much remain the same. We get the extra names in on Wednesday. We can still interview on Saturday.
Now, okay, is that with opening it up to the public, we would be able to only advertise it for 2 or 3 days or so? So is that still the thought, to open it, Mr. Lawson?
The timeline that we have to open it to the public would be the only fair process to avoid any issues within our city. Now, I guess my question is, the resumes on the individuals that we're going to be interviewing, do we have to meet again as a board and disclose who we're going to be interviewing on Saturday if we open it to the public? Because now that's going to be the concern on who we're interviewing. So if we don't have those names by Wednesday's meeting to identify who we're interviewing at the time, it's a moot point to open it to the public, because it could simply come back that individuals just chosen by the council at will as opposed to being fairly done. So those are my concerns with having the public know exactly who we're interviewing this Saturday and where we got these names from.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
is there anybody in this city that can take this job for 60 to 90 days? Could we please identify somebody to take this interim position for 60 to 90 days? Because we have to be transparent with the community, number one. We don't want to do things as of old, so we have to do it right. We're new coming in, but that's not an excuse. We need to move forward. If we can find somebody that's here that knows the system, I don't think we're going to miss that much in 60 to 90 days to bring them in, so we can move forward. I think Wednesday determines a lot, like Councilman Lawson said. Where we moving at, it can be 30 days, it can be 60 days. I think the biggest thing is we need to be talking about a permanent city manager, so we don't keep coming down this lane. But if we can find somebody in-house, I think that's the right way to go.
Thank you. So if we can open it up publicly. There are people, there's at least one or two that I know of that are not a part of the organization who did apply. So the word was out there from us discussing it last week. So we can very well put the word back out there again as of tonight that we're going to open it back up and leave it open until Wednesday. We will close it out on Wednesday. But in order for her to post those names, you could post the names by Wednesday evening or Thursday morning, given enough time for Saturday's interviews. If we provide the names, the breakdown of the three to come down for your posting. I guess I'm just asking you in terms of the posting of the names on the agenda for Saturday's interview.
Madam Chair, when we do a posting for interviews, we do not list names. We just notice that interviews will occur and the time frame that they will occur, and that the public is welcome to be in attendance. They don't participate, they just be in attendance to hear the questions.
Okay, so if we have additional people that apply, we can just at least have their resumes available so the public is aware of who these individuals are, because they have these already, this list of 6 people. But if we can just have the additional people's resumes and names available, it'll still be available to the public so that they know who they are.
The sooner the better.
That will work. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So we're gonna move forward, like, post it publicly, with a deadline of noon Wednesday. Is that right? And we, council, get a copy of those that submitted by noon Wednesday.
Well, at least by the, yeah.
Well, by that
a little bit.
afternoon. So then we come back and send our top 3 to HR.
We're gonna go ahead and send in our, it won't be the 9th anymore.
Right.
Okay, it won't be the 9th. We can have it for Wednesday night, but we have a council meeting on Wednesday night, so if we can just make sure we have those names sent to Ms. Hoskins and Ms. Eureka by Wednesday evening, and then that way you all can reach out to the 3 or 4 individuals. I think we should just put like a comment time for at least be able to make comments regarding the names, or during that meeting that we have, just say the names that we have, and at least we're advertising who those people will be.
Follow up. Okay, let me get this straight. All right, so we're gonna get those names by noon on
Wednesday.
We will.
Well, a little bit after. They have until Wednesday
say 2 o'clock
at 12.
that day. We'll get those names, so that we have to go through those names plus the ones we have.
Well, these we can already go through. It'll
Right.
just be the additional ones.
And we just have to pick the top 3 out of all of those. Okay, gotcha. And we have those to HR by what, that same day?
By that night, yeah, that night, because we'll be here that night. Remember now, if they're department heads need to let her know that tomorrow, okay? They have until Wednesday to submit their resumes, too, until Wednesday. But we'll at least have these names already, which we have now. We'll have the department head names tomorrow, and then any other additional people. So it shouldn't be a whole lot, I don't think, by then, but those will be the only ones that are new coming to you on Wednesday afternoon. And then you can work through it on Wednesday evening and just make sure before we leave here, we're able to provide those names. And then you could reach out to those individuals and let them know that we'll be having. Have you all given them any heads up, or you haven't had any contact with them?
We haven't had any contact with them.
So can we at least reach out to these people and just make them aware that should they be selected, we do have interviews scheduled for Saturday?
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's going to be the day. If they have a wedding or somewhere to go that day, they're just out.
Also, we need to know, I know the list offered of members in transition in the state of Florida. I can't recall if they're all local, so we need to know if you are paying travel accommodations. Just say someone from Pensacola who needs an
I'm going to
overnight stay.
think we need to just try to stay local as
Yes.
much as possible. We have enough people that are local. Yeah, we don't need to do all that for 30, 60,
So
90
someone
days.
in Tallahassee or Pensacola,
They're on their
not
own.
paying, they're on their own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yes.
I want to make something very clear. I did not at any time have any extensive conversations with any of the people on this list. When they called me, because O.L. Wingo at the FCCMA gave them my number, I said to them very clearly, I am not involved in this process. I'm giving your name and number to the city manager and the city attorney for them to deal with this. This is the first time I'm hearing that, that Human Resources was not involved at all. So, but I had, there was an implication earlier by someone that I had conversations. I had no conversations other than to say, I am not involved in this process. I'm a city council person. I'm not an HR person. I'm asking the city manager and the city attorney to reach out to you to deal with this. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Lanier.
Yeah, I wanted to say that when you say you're going to open it up to the public and to department heads, I want to make sure that that means that any city employee can apply for that position. Ms. Hoskins was not a department head when she became interim and permanent, so I think that it should be extended to all the employees.
Could you
in the
please
city.
silence your phone? Okay, as long as they meet
Yeah.
the criteria.
Right.
Yeah, I would think that's only fair. What do you all think?
Are you,
So there is a criteria.
Exactly my question.
That's what I was gonna say, criteria.
I'm sorry.
The advertisement.
no,
Okay.
Madam,
So there was no advertisement?
There
What am I looking at?
There was no advertisement for the interim.
What is this one
However,
here?
there is a criteria set for the city manager position.
Which is the one that is on Novus?
Yes, that was done, I think it was about well over a year ago, when it
Okay,
was the
right.
last change of 3 years from 7 to 3.
Right, yeah.
and Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
When I applied, the requirements that are in the document were waived. So, no master's degree, college degree, years of experience. What you have before you requires a master's degree in public administration with 5 to 10 years of city manager experience. Since this was supposed to be 90 days for me as an interim, those requirements were waived.
Okay, so essentially that would be what we're asking to do tonight.
So, Madam Chair.
Go
okay,
ahead,
so,
Mr. McCoy.
All right. Anybody with an associate's degree, come to Riviera Beach. Is that what we're saying?
That's not what I'm
So
saying.
let's, like members, here's what I was thinking. And I don't know if this is a question for Ms. Hoskins and Ms. Busby, but this is just going to get more and more difficult because we didn't have an advertisement. We didn't have a criteria. We already know. And Ms. Botel, let me correct you. I don't know the department head, so I definitely want to see their resume. So nobody gets a free pass in Riviera Beach because you were here already. My other concern is that we can't just make it open for anyone to apply simply because while you're saying now that there's no criteria, I don't want to wait till Wednesday and we get 30 resumes and we're expected to review them and make a decision on this. And I know I heard someone from the public suggest that we got this information. Well, I beg to differ. There was a power outage on Friday at the city. Emails have been not even working, so I only got this information today, and that was in between
Point of order, please.
all of these meetings that we've been going through. So don't suggest that we've gotten this stuff and been sitting on it. I've been in a lot of meetings, and a lot of this stuff is new to me. So what I would like to ask the question, I don't think we're going to get to a place that's going to reach everyone's satisfaction. But I wanted to know the restrictions on Ms. Hoskins staying here beyond that, even after, hear me out. So if I understand there's some restrictions regarding FRS and that sort of thing, but to bring her back potentially as a contractor who's not an employee of the city, who's not going to be on FRS, is that an option at this point as opposed to now? Because now everything seems like a rush, and we've already seen pitfalls and obstacles that's going to be in our way. So I want to see if she can come on as an interim contracted city manager as opposed to an employee. And if, first of all, the question is for you, Ms. Hoskins, if that's something you would even be open and entertain at this point.
No, sir.
All right. All right. So with it's almost going to get to a point of making an appointment as, I mean, that's what we're doing anyway. But in terms of the criteria, I totally support and agree with what you're saying, Councilman McCoy. I'm not looking to just bring anybody in and everybody just start applying. So we do have, but we made some mistakes some time ago when the actual job advertisement for city manager was lowered. So that's what happened then. We started getting a lot of people applying that, in my opinion, were not qualified for the position. And that's not the road I'm trying to travel. In terms of a criteria, the one that is on Novus is the city manager, which is what you pointed out, Dr. Botel. And it talks about the public administration and, having those experiences. We have the ability to waive it, as Ms. Hoskins mentioned a few minutes ago. But keep in mind, if we stay with our timeline, we're only talking a couple of days. We're not paying for anybody to move here. So I'm sure that will probably cancel some people out if they were under that expectation that that was going to happen.
I'm sorry, Madam.
Yes.
Madam Chair, to move here for permanent position or
The
move
90
here?
days, the 90 days. Because some of the people are out of town. They are out of town. So we
Well,
will not be providing.
Here's
any-
the other limitation. These resumes, I couldn't find an address for any of these people.
I saw somewhere on the list that some of them were like Newport, Tampa, different areas. I saw it was on one of I think it was from last week's, the email that we were receiving. And you may not have received it. I don't know. It came last week, I believe, the email that we had prior to, that was available for last week's meeting. Somebody sent it with you sent it, right,
Yeah.
Ms. Hoskins?
Yes, an email was sent when Councilwoman Botel sent the list of managers in transition. I believe there were about 12. And that list had where they currently lived or resided.
Right. So if at any point, if the new council members do not have that, please forward that information to them as well. But I said all that to say, with this interim position, if we open it up, what job announcement are we going to use? Because the current one that is listed as the city manager one has master's degree in public administration, business administration, or other public-related field as is required. There would need to be some sort of disclosure or that we would accept a little lower if that's what we're looking for.
Chair, Madam.
Well, Ms.
Chair,
Lanier was about to, and then Ms. Botel.
I don't think that we need to lower this.
I think that the minimum is a master's and 3 to 5 years experience.
Okay.
I think that's basic in
Okay.
terms of a person coming here.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna
You
say
wanna
that.
say- Okay, so what the job announcement that is listed as the city manager one, we can use that and just make sure it says interim city manager position, and add the job salary amount, the minimum of 150. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and all right, so Madam Manager, do you have what you need to get through the next few days, the timeline sketched out here?
Ms. Irvin, are you clear? Did you have any questions?
So you'll reach out, once we give you the names on Wednesday evening, you all will reach out to those individuals. And you would also let us know that night if you were not able to narrow it down to the 3 or 4 for whatever reason.
What time, Madam Chair, will you all, what time do you all need? Because I know some of you work.
Meet for what?
To submit your names on Wednesday. Are we saying, because we have a special meeting scheduled for 6, so we're saying before 4? Would that work for?
12 o'clock is the cutoff time for the department heads to give the resumes. They're going to give the names if they're interested tomorrow. So, and once she gets those tomorrow, she needs to go ahead and forward that to us. So we'll have that. The only thing we will be waiting on is if there are additional people outside that applied. And so those names would come to us. We can get those right before the meeting, maybe 4 o'clock.
I would, yeah, I mean, that's fine, getting them, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure that I can be able to put my 3 or 4 in after 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
After 5.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to do, say, 8 o'clock that night?
That's fine.
8 o'clock.
Because we will have the bulk of them already tomorrow. 8 o'clock on Wednesday evening, we have to have our 3 names submitted to Ms. Hoskins and Ms. Irvin.
And then as far as advertisement, did you just want something on the city's website
For
the interim?
how I
Because
don't.
it would take too long
That's
for
what I
a
was gonna ask.
newspaper
What is-
and any other.
Well, we can't do newspaper because
Right.
that's not enough time. But
No.
in terms of putting it in the system when people go to apply for a job, would it go through there, or they're
To
just
go
sending?
to place on our website is there immediately.
Okay.
To place on the Florida League of Cities is posted normally within the same day. FCCMA, I'm not exactly certain of their turnaround time. That's normally 1 to 2 days.
Okay.
But FCMA, they have a time certain that their advertisements are up.
Okay.
So that advertisement will be up beyond your decision time.
Okay, but they've already been reached out to, so those who were interested, I'm assuming, are only these
Yes.
that are listed here. So.
Is it Dr. Winglow emailed all the members that were on the list to respond to the city's request.
Okay, so that organization we can say has pretty much been advertised to.
Yes.
Okay, and so we could reach out to the Florida League of Cities to have them advertise it, and we'll put it on our website so that it's available.
Yes.
Okay, everybody good with that?
Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairperson Miller Anderson, Lina Busby, Assistant City Attorney. May I make one suggestion
Yes.
For the advertisement? I would suggest if you're going to put interim city manager, that you also include that this term, consistent with our charter, will not exceed 120 days.
Okay. Okay, and we'll just make sure they understand that it could be less than that. It just won't exceed 120. It could be 30, and we'll make that clear when we have our interview and other things.
That might narrow some of the applicants.
Right, right. Okay, so on Wednesday evening by 8, we'll submit our 3 names to them. From that point, they will make contact with those individuals. If we are able to narrow it down to 3, if we're not unable to narrow it down to 3, then we will have in the comments where Ms. Hoskins will give that update, provide that update on Wednesday evening during our meeting. So just start thinking in your head if what we're going to have to do, if we're going to have to meet on Friday or Thursday or whatever we're going to have to do to narrow it down so we can stay on schedule if that's needed.
So we're possibly going to meet on Thursday?
Not necessarily. I'm just saying, put in your head that if we are not able to narrow it down to 3, where we will be at, we'll have to do something to get it where we need it. If we're going to stay on the timeline, or we will be saying that we'll have to modify the interview time and not be on Saturday.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
May I also
Yes.
add that we have to make sure that we are complying with the special meeting requirements. And also, there's currently a scheduled planning and zoning meeting Thursday evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, and from Saturday, council meet at City Hall, 8:15. Interviews begin at 9. Council will provide consensus on the best qualified candidate. And on Monday, April 15th, staff will negotiate the contract. And Wednesday, the 17th, council would vote on the contract. So on Monday, the 15th, when you negotiate the contract, which it should be, can you go ahead and send like the standard contract out to everyone so they already knows what it could possibly look like? I mean, the only thing you'll be negotiating, we're not going to have in there about the vacation and all of that different stuff. What would the interim contract look like?
Well, we can refer to Ms. Hoskins' original interim city manager contract. However, she did negotiate some items even on that initial contract. So I will provide a draft from my office, just very basic contract, and at your direction and the remaining members of council, you then are directing that this contract will solely be for a term not to exceed 120 days.
Yes.
And the only benefit you are providing is salary.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Madam Chair.
You have a hidden phone somewhere?
Just a quick question. Are we allowed to rank outside the sunshine? In other words, the ranking that we're doing on our own. So I guess it becomes in the sunshine once we have a conversation about those who are ranked.
You are correct. Absolutely do not have conversations about your ranking with other members of the council.
So we can rank on our own without the sunshine, and then it becomes open to the public once we have announced which the people we have ranked. So we're okay.
You're correct.
All right. So that's Monday, April 15th, and then it will be brought to us to vote on the contract on April 17th.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would also suggest in the advertisement you make clear that no other benefits will be provided as a condition of this contract.
Okay. So we'll add that into the job in the advertisement. Okay, is there anything else you all need from us, Ms. Irvin, Ms. Hoskins, Ms. Busby?
No, Chair.
No. All right, council, are we comfortable with the forward move we're trying to make here tonight? Yes. Mayor, are you comfortable with us?
Yes.
All right. All right. So we will go into, no motions are needed. Do we need any motions? We're good with the consensus. Ms. Busby and Ms. Anthony.
Well, please clarify what your consensus is.
To go ahead and advertise, talking in terms of being able to go ahead and move forward with the advertisement in the manner we just discussed, the timeline that we just discussed, as well as having staff go out and negotiate the contract.
For all clarity, I suggest that you make a motion for
Okay.
this process.
So moved.
All right. Do you have a second? All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Lawson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
All right.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just a final thing about the FCCMA. Have they been informed that we did in fact vote at the last meeting to allow them to help us in this process? That was a question,
Question to who?
I guess, to the city manager. Or
Madam
HR.
Chair, HR spoke with Ms.
Wingo?
Okay,
Wingo.
thank you.
I reached out to Ms. Carol Russell in the main office in Tallahassee, and I'm waiting to hear back from her.
Thank you.
All right, public comments should be restricted to issues, matters, or topics pertinent to the city of Riviera Beach. Please be reminded that the city council has adopted rules of decorum governing public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the entrance of the council chambers. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the council chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting and/or the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. And we will keep public comment open until 7:30. At 7:30, we will cut off the acceptance of public comment.
Reverend William Burrs, Willis Williams, Bessie Brown.
Madam Chair, Council.
Good evening.
Mayor. Again, I appreciate your concerns about trying to look within the boundary within this city employee to try to find someone to carry on, which will save the city some money and much won't, and some time as well, because you won't have to worry about trying to cover these people's with insurance they're already covered, and all these type of things. So again, it really makes an employee more, may I say, more concerned or more anxious to try to enhance themselves and educational wise to when a position come up on. If they see now that I don't have a chance of getting the position when they come up, and then I'm applying myself, just stay neutral and et cetera. So again, not being redundant, that I'm quite sure you all will feel the same way. If you was on a job and a position come available, you would like to be promoted if you were qualified. And you could, as I said before, I could set a criteria where nobody won't qualify to be anything in this city. You can set the standard so high when it don't take all those criteria to run the city. As Willie said earlier, that the past mayor, Claire Williams, she was the city manager for a while when they needed a city manager. She did a good job. So don't try to think that a person need to have a PhD or bachelor degree to manage the city. You don't need that. Every department prepares its own budget and give it to the city manager go through it and bring it to the council. Simple as that. So look within your ranks and try to find somebody to do the job and move forward to save yourself some problems, some headaches, and save some money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bessie Brown, Doretta Polk, Forest Towns.
Good evening.
Good
Bessie
evening.
Brown. I just would like to say welcome everybody to the city of Riviera Beach, because there's work to be done, and and take the time, read your agendas, and read other things too. And I would just like to say, all of our new councilmen, you should ask for about the last 3 OIG reports and all and the findings from the ethics committee, because that will help you understand better that there is no corruption in this city. Also, I'd like to ask how can I get some information on the 1 cent, that penny tax, and what's going on with it, and what's happening, and how much do we have, and do you still have to put somebody on the committee or anything of that? Because I'd like to be on it. But basically, I'd like to get some real information on what's going on and when you all are going to take care of that.
Thank you.
Doretta Polk. Horace Towns, Mary Brown.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name is Doretta Polk, and I would just like to, there's a young lady by the name of Marvelous Washington. She was running for council, and she brought, at the debate, brought up a subject concerning that other municipalities that's larger than ours only have one chief executive assistant, and just to try to save some money in this city, which we need to do with the budget, that you look into having only one chief executive assistant, and if that he or she needs a help, of course you can hire another aide, but I think with everyone having the individual, which she made a very good point concerning that, because this is like a part-time job. So I think if we're going to consider, and I hope you all will have a response to that, that you consider just having one chief executive aide, and if he or she needs any assistance, that you all hire a second one. But let's just cut down on the cost, and when our roads, are so terribly need improvement, our water department. And these are the things that you all, the new council, should look in as a budget as ways of cutting. And another thing, with the 67 credit cards that are out there, I think that should be rescinded and taken back. I don't think all of these heads or whoever has the cards need to have that. That's another agenda of trying to save money for all the citizens of Riviera Beach, what our infrastructure needs to be and our water plant needs to be, so much correction in that. And I had one other thing. Oh, I would like to comment also and maybe put a name out there possibly, Mrs. Billy Brooks, for consideration, also being interim city manager. She has been on this board, councilwoman before, prior to this, and I think she has a lot of valuable information that can help each and every one of us, also the residents of Riviera Beach. So please consider her name as being also as one of the interested people who could be on serving our city very well. And that's about it. Oh, another thing, one other point I want to make out. City councils, also, you all have a credit card of $9,000, if I'm correct about that. If not, and a car allowance of $9,000, whatever, that should be rescinded also. And not so much money, $9,000 each one of you all? No. So please consider that also, way we can save money in the city of Riviera Beach. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. If I could get you all to kind of keep your voices down a little bit, it is carrying up here to the dais.
Horace Towns, Mary Brown.
Good afternoon, the Horace Towns.
Good evening.
Excuse me, my voice troubles, just had surgery. This is my first meeting. I want to say congratulations to the new council, Lawson, Lanier, and McCoy. I know this Wednesday you guys have a meeting regarding Jonathan Evans. In my opinion, it's kind of like we're spinning our wheels in the mud. This meeting should have been Thursday if we're going to have a discussion about Jonathan Evans on Wednesday. That's my personal opinion. I want to say how to express this. We're talking about being fiscally responsible, and I know that there's been so much mention, and this is going to put me out there, but so much mention about the credit cards and the travel. I mean, not the travel, the car allowances. A lot of people were outraged with the council members that left, but I really want this council to kind of educate people on some of the necessities and why you may have a credit card, why you may have a car allowance. It may be more or less than other municipalities, but they do have these items. So I don't want to, I guess, get into a point where I join the noise and the confusion. You guys have a lot of work ahead of you. Because of the instability and the constant turnover every election, you guys do have a lot of work to do. You guys do need executive assistants because of the prior councils and all the damage that was done. Right now, maybe in the future, you guys can look at going to 1 or 2, but right now, you guys are gonna have a lot of work. You still have a water issue to discuss, but I'm sorry about my voice. The thing I wanted to discuss tonight, the city manager position. I think we do have a new council, but we need to explore talking about how we're going to spend money. We're going to go out for 90 days to bring in another city manager, and then we're going to go back and discuss having a permanent manager. Mr. Willis Williams discussed earlier how the city, the mayor, possibly could retain those duties for 60 to 90 days. We have a city attorney, you have a mayor. No matter what's presented, it still has to come to the council for a vote. So if we're talking about going out and paying a portion of $150 for 3 months, I think that's something to consider. That way that allows the council still to be in control instead of going out and have a potential issue. a potential issue. So those are my thoughts. Or even if we would go to Ms. Hoskins did leave and we went to a state of emergency, it allows you guys to maneuver a little differently. So, and Ms. Hoskins, as I close, thank you for your years of service. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Mary Brown.
Mary Bram, to the council in general, I do agree with Mayor Felder. It is someone right here in this necessity here for these 60 or 90 days. We are not paying no one to move here, no travel accommodation, no vacation time, no sick time, and not to exceed 120 days. We do have someone right here now, as I have said, and other people that are in the communities too, that can step right in here and hit the ground. You have to rein in a lot of this excessive spending in this city. You were elected for that accountability, and we would not accept anything else or any less. No, the criteria should not be lowered. We should have qualified people to lead us in the next future, and we should have that vision. It is nothing wrong if you have an associate degree, but this city here, like I said, and the rest of the residents who spoke loud and clear, we need a better face on who we are and who we elect as our leaders. Yes, we do want the best of the best. We've had some very, very rough times and rough notches. We now can rise above that. That criteria do not lower it. They need a master's degree. They need to have some management experience somewhere. They need to know how to dialogue. They need to know how to read, like I encourage all you all to read. This is what help moves you. This is what help moves your city. And we will not settle for anything lesser than that. You need to also know if these people have been fired. Sometimes they don't tell you. They just come, and then we have to research them, and we do that in-depth research. You need to know that about these people. Have they ever been fired? Have they ever been abusers? Have they ever had any misgivings on their previous job? See, everybody comes here. They come with a package. We are better than that, board. You are better than that, and we would not expect any lesser. I'm going to tell you this. Miss Bram Church is Mount Zion Primitive Baptist, and we are in the process of celebrating our 117th year. My church is a beautiful church. Yes, I'm going to say it. It is very fluent, and Miss Bram advocates for the good of you all and for the good of every city that Miss Bram sits at those tables. So my patronize, if you desire, I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to push you, but I have to have it by Sunday. A whole page is $100. Half a page is $50. And a quarter page is $25. I see your news channel. You all know Ms. Braham. So I would like for you all to be partakers. And I would like for you all to come visit Ms. Braham, because we do wonderful things over there. Right, Dr. Botel? Yes, ma'am. We do wonderful things over there. And my church is a united church. We do not parlay in any foolishness. So if you come there, I do not attend out here. My church, my great church is Mount Zion Primitive Baptist Church. A lot of the churches in Riviera Beach has come out of that church.
Thank you.
So come see Ms. Braham,
We'll make
okay?
sure we get those patron ads to you and visit. Is that it? All right. Ms. Hoskins, do you have any answers for any of the questions that were posed for public comment?
Madam Chair, Ms. Brown, Bessie Brown spoke about the 1 cent sales surtax.
Yes.
To date, we've collected approximately $4.1 million. And she also talked about the Oversight Committee. The Citizens Oversight Committee is to provide public review of the expenditures of the surtax proceeds. And that item is scheduled to go on the agenda for the 17th, April 17th meeting, where I am asking you all to appoint the Oversight Committee. None of those funds have been appropriated or expended from the sales surtax. You actually need to choose some projects that you would like to fund with that money. So as I stated, the agenda item for the Oversight Committee will be on the April 17th agenda, so the council can appoint that Oversight Committee. And the OIG reports, I can provide those to you all if you would like, but they are on the Office of Inspector General's website. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Discussion, do you have anything to add, City Attorney, for anything regarding our issue that we just addressed earlier?
There was just one suggestion made about the mayor serving also as city manager. I would have to research, but there could be an issue of dual office holding.
Okay.
So you would have to relinquish your position for that temporary period of time, I believe. But I'll do the further research and send you an email if you are interested in that option.
Thank you. And comments by the board. We'll start with Councilman Lawson and then work our way down.
So I just want to tell everyone, all the residents, that this is just a work in progress right now. I want you all to just be mindful that we're taking our time with this aspect because this has been the discussion over the last 17 months. So we're going to get it right. So I just want everyone to be patient, and we're going to do it right. We're not going to go too slow, but at the same time, we're going to not make any missteps. So I want the public to be ready for us to make the right decision for an interim city manager and then a permanent city manager. And that is our focus. And we still are all on the same page with unifying and working together on that process. So I have no other comments, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lanier.
I'd just like to say that I'm happy that the residents came out tonight. I would encourage the residents to come out on Wednesday night, to come out on Saturday for the interviews, if they're to be held, and for future meetings. There's a Planning and Zoning Board meeting on Thursday. I want to be able to. A lot of times, a lot of the council, a lot of the residents come to this meeting, but there are a lot of committee meetings that we make decisions. We sit as a utility board. We sit as the CRA board. So there are a lot of meetings that the public needs to attend to weigh in, to be able to understand what's happening with the city, and also to help us to make the right decision. I really appreciate the fact that residents do come out, and I know a lot of times that they talk on television or they watch it on television, but I would encourage them in TV land to come in person and see the meetings and to give us feedback and to come to the public comments and to talk to us about what it is that you need from us. And I just want to say that I'm happy to be serving in this capacity, and I look forward to doing great things for the city.
Councilman McCoy?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members, public. A few things. I wanted to take the opportunity to announce a proposal that I will be bringing, or I've asked City Manager to put on the agenda, and that is the renaming of West First Street as Inez Mickens Street, and that'll be on next week's agenda. And with all due respect to Ms. Lanier, who's the council person of that district, I certainly wanted to, it's not like I could pick her up the phone and call her and tell her that that was an initiative that I wanted to do, but I think it's fitting that I now announce it publicly. That way we could be prepared, and I ask for your support on that item. Certainly it is customary, at least from my time working in the legislature, that you cross into another member's district. It's a common courtesy to give them a call, but this is not the legislature, and if you call somebody about an item that's going to be discussed on the agenda, there's a repercussion. So Ms. Lanier, let this be my ask of you for your permission to put the resolution forward for Ms. Mickens renaming First Street.
Certainly, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Lanier. Secondly, Ms. Hoskins, the interlocal agreement, so let me back up. The 1 cent sales surtax that was just mentioned, that's going to be placed on the agenda for next week. You know, I'm a little curious as to how that works, because if I can remember correctly, and this goes back to 2015 when this interlocal agreement was first initiated with the 1 cent sales surtax, and I want to ask the city attorney's office to look at this too. If I can remember correctly, the provisions of the interlocal agreement provide that this oversight review board be independent. Now, what independent mean is very subjective, but I'll tell you what Palm Beach County School District did, because I was asked to serve on that board. Obviously, you can't serve on every board, but Palm Beach County School District reached out to various organizations within the community, and they in turn picked appointees to serve on that board. And that actually provides for a true definition of independence. And while I certainly want to see members in my community participate on this oversight review committee to see how our tax dollars are being spent, I don't want to have a specific appointee who reports back to me, because that really, to me, doesn't define the level of independence. I want people to participate in this process through no influence of us, because here's what happens. If we appoint these people as council members, we still have to come back and vote on the project because it exceeds, in most cases, the signing authority of the city manager. So let's dare to be different, and let's think outside the box. I would suggest we use the model that has been used at Palm Beach County School District, and let's think of some organizations throughout Riviera Beach, specifically like nonprofit organizations or organizations that have some real commitment. So that way, if they select someone, then it's not a decision that was made by city council. So I would certainly look to see that we do that, and also if that defines and suffices for the definition of independent oversight review committee. The other item that I wanted to discuss was, I wanted to also again mention that I wanted to see the agent of record for group insurance placed on the agenda next week. And I wanted to find out if there's an opportunity between staff that we can kind of see the agenda before it gets published, because, you know, I may have some concerns, but, you know, it seems like once it's published, it's published. It becomes open for the public, and I don't want to find out at that point what's on the agenda. So, Madam Manager, I'll be reaching out in the next day to find out what we can expect to be on the agenda, just so we're prepared. So, those are my comments.
Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you. I completely support the suggestion made by Councilperson McCoy with regard to the process for determining the Oversight Review Committee members. I think as much as we can take it out of the realm of politics and put it into the hands of community members without influence is a good idea. I want to remind folks on Singer Island that we're having our quarterly Singer Island Town Hall meeting on April 18th, Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Ambassador Center on Blue Heron. I also want to let you know that there's an event sponsored by the Fish and Wildlife Committee to celebrate the no-take zone under the Blue Heron Bridge on April 11th at 4 o'clock. And I'm going to ask the city manager, with permission from the chair, if we can begin to plan for a retreat for council so that we can take a look at discussing our priorities for the city. I'm sure that my colleagues have a list like I have, similar to mine, a laundry list of things that we want to get done in this first year, and it would be wonderful to have a meeting that's a little less formal than something that has to be televised for us to really get down and figure out what it is we want to do. And then the issue of car allowances, credit cards, and legislative aids has come up on a number of occasions, and I would ask that, although we certainly don't want to burden one meeting with those three heavy topics, I would like to be able to have those topics put on an upcoming agenda so that we as a council can come to a decision, and I think we're probably all of one mind on this one. Come to a decision about the car allowances, the credit cards, and the legislative aids. Thank you.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention is in regards to the Citizen Leadership Academy, we will have our brief ceremony during presentations on April 17th. So those of you that participated in the Citizen Leadership Academy, I will be reaching out to you, but we will have our end of the year, end of session graduation ceremony on April 17th during the council meeting during presentations. In mentioning and as Dr. Botel said, several times people have talked about the credit cards, the promotional and travel and all of that. I do want to make mention that during our last budget session on last year, I did cut my promotional in half. I cut my travel amount in half as well. And with the Citizen Leadership Academy, I was trying to make sure that that was an initiative that would be a city-sponsored and city event, not something that, Councilwoman Miller Anderson is putting on. That did not get agreed to during our budget session, so the amount of money that I cut from my promotional and travel, which is, I was just going to give it back to general, I in turn had to take that half of that money and put it towards the Citizen Leadership Academy so that that program could run. And I also cut my legislative assistant position at the end of December. So I have made some attempts to drop my budget for District 2 already. Thank you. And then for the, Ms. Hoskins, after I'm done, could you just kind of speak a little bit about the water main break that happened over on Palm Beach Shores? And the meeting for Wednesday is a discussion and deliberation, and it says it was posted today, updating, modifying, disposing of, and/or amending the settlement agreement with Mr. Jonathan Evans to allow for him to return as city manager in Riviera Beach. Also start negotiation on his city manager contract. That is a discussion and deliberation item. It will be held at the Riviera Beach Marina Event Center. So those of you that are available, please come out to participate in that discussion. Also, we have Mr. McCoy in response to your wanting to review the agenda. Most of you may or may not be aware that you can meet with the attorney and the city manager prior to the agenda coming out. Obviously, she'll be here only maybe one more agenda, but just set your schedule up with the city manager, interim city manager and permanent one later on, and the attorney to review the agenda. McCoy wanted to do it before it was posted, and that's fine. And then if you want to do it after it's posted as well, that's fine too. But just make sure you let them know what dates you want to meet on a regular basis. And same thing for CRA. You'll have to set up a time for that as well to be able to meet. You want to ask something about that?
No, ma'am. I wanted to ask about the Wednesday meeting. Did you say it was at the marina?
Is that yes? She revised it.
Okay.
She has not emailed that to us yet, though, but it was revised at the beginning of this meeting. That was a typo. It should have been the event center from the beginning.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
I did send out an email to the elected officials advising that I did receive a call from Ms. Hoskins advising that the meeting was going to be held at the event center.
Okay.
So a revised notice will be posted on tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. And the retreat. And I do support the retreat. That's something I wanted to make sure that we have for city and CRA. We could possibly do a joint retreat. And, I mean, Ms. Hoskinson kind of get it started, but understand, she will be leaving next week, you know, so she can get the ball going, but that'll be a conversation for us to have with the person that's coming in, and if nothing else, the interim person can help us get with someone to facilitate that. We just let them know what it is that we want to discuss. I would imagine a lot of it would be, I would like to see each department head presenting, you know, information, just providing you all updated information as well from every department, so that it'd be like somewhat of an orientation for you as well. So that's something we can discuss and have that for our retreat coming up for CRA, city CRA and the utility district. And that's it for me. I'm just going to have Ms. Hoskins address the water leak, and then we'll be ready to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I received a call at approximately 2 o'clock this afternoon from the executive director of the utility district, and he stated that a contractor, he's working in Palm Beach Shores, hit a 6-inch water main, 6-inch potable water main, and it only affected the Palm Beach Shores residents. And there were about 500 to 600 people affected. They would have to, in order to repair the break, they would have to shut down the water. And at that time, they were waiting on the vendor to show up to repair the break. I haven't received any updates as of yet, but once I receive an update, I will have Mr. Horton send out an email. He did send out an email to you all right after the break, so I will have him send out an update.
All right, and I almost forgot, Mr. Felder, Mayor, don't let me leave you out. That's why I wanted to bring everybody down. I was trying to bring us all together, and we're going to fix these microphones, because I don't recall this being this way. We're going to work that out.
Thank you. I
Go
won't
ahead.
be long. I agree with everything they're saying. Listen, you guys have one of the smartest boards, and I'm just pleased to work with you guys to move the city forward. Just a couple things I do want, and I don't know if we can put on an agenda for next week or upcoming, but something Councilman McCoy said about the IT department, and we're going to wait till we get a city manager. But he said something that sparked me, and I've kind of just been playing it back over my head, that our IT is connected to our first responders. And I know we've been having some troubles with email, so I really want us to take that serious, and maybe we can do chew gum and walk at the same time. If we have a budget for it, I think it's something that we need to really take seriously and look at how can we get an IT person as soon as possible, because if it's going to affect anybody that needs help, I'm very concerned about that, and I think we all need to be concerned about it. So,
Well, I do think we should be clear. We do have IT people in place, correct? And this is a brand-new position that has not been filled in a year, correct, Ms. Hoskins?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we've been operating without this person, but just so you know, it is a new position, and we've had it for a year but never filled it.
so
All right.
with that, I'm excited. Let's go to work. Let's make them happy.
All
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, you want to follow up right quick?
Yes, thank you for reminding me about that, the CIO position. Ms. Hoskins, where are we at on that? Because if I can remember, there was a conditional offer extended. So, you know, I don't know. I think the direction was to go back and see if the applicant would take the 98. I don't even recall what we left at.
We reached out to the applicant on Friday, and he would not take anything less than the 122 that was offered. You know, he stated that, you know, the market is at 122. So, you know, he expressed his thanks for the interview and meeting with city staff. So at this point, I believe the council directed to move on to number 2, or was it
Yes.
to wait? To move on to number 2.
If I may.
Hold on. All right. Are you done, Mr. McCoy?
Go ahead, Ms.
I believe we tabled it, but I think the intention was that we take a look at the second candidate, this second place candidate.
Was that a
Fol-
consensus?
Follow up, Madam Chair.
Go back and check the records if you're not familiar.
Hold on, Mr. McCoy. Madam Chair, if the item has been tabled, remember, a tabled item has to be taken off the table prior to it being discussed. Okay, so you have to make a motion to take it off the table. Then you have to make a motion to proceed with discussion on however you all want to proceed.
And that would be at another meeting where we have it on the agenda.
If it's not on the agenda, I would check the minutes to see what the motion actually was, if it was to table or to postpone, and get back to you all on it, and to see if you all put a time certain on the item to come back to you all.
Okay, all right, so she'll follow back up and let us know where we were with that. And if it is something that you all, if it's something to come back, then we could have it put onto another agenda.
If it is not time certain, Madam Chair, for the next city council meeting, then the elected officials would need to advise staff on when they would want for it to be on the agenda.
Okay.
Because, as you know, after our meeting on the 17th, Ms. Hoskins would not be in place.
Right.
And so it would have to be discussed with the person who will be in the city manager position.
Okay.
Point of clarification, Madam Chair. So let me make sure I'm clear, Ms. Anthony. So we have to have a motion to take it off the table for just discussion, and I'm not speaking of deliberation, because all I'm asking for right now is inquiry and information. So you're suggesting that in order for the city manager or the chairperson to respond to my request for inquiry or information, there has to be a motion?
Madam Chair, if it is placed on the agenda, okay, as a discussion item, you have to take it off the table. If you are submitting an inquiry to the city manager via email or something, then it does not have to be taken off the table. If you do it during your statements by the mayor and city council, just asking for the city manager to provide you with information, it does not have to be taken off
And
the
that's
table.
what I'm doing right now. So
Okay.
I don't want to bring up the conversation for us to deliberate on it, but my question was, where did we leave off? Because I think and members, if I can just get your attention on this, I think where we left off, there was a lot of confusion about when we were discussing this last Wednesday, whether or not, for some reason, whether this guy was eligible or whether he was deserving of that amount. And I think what should have been kind of clearly explained, which I think partly would have been something that I wanted to do, but before I got to it, a motion was already made, but we were not really considering any other applicant at that point. Am I right, Ms.? Because there was already an offer extended.
A conditional offer that was extended.
So he came back to you and said that he cannot come back for 98.
For less than the 122.
Okay, so right now that means he's rejecting our offer?
Correct.
Okay, so, and I mean, here's what I'm confused about. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not understanding what the position of the board was, because if I can remember correctly, members of the board said, we need more time. We need to look at other applicants. That's two different things, Ms. Hoskins. If it's the board's position that we're looking at other applicants, we shouldn't be asking this guy, we should be withdrawing our offer to him, because I don't understand the temperature of what we were discussing relative to what the offer is. Do you follow what I'm saying? The offer is there. Our role as members of the board is to accept the offer or decline the offer. Is the issues that I heard raised, we need more time, us declining the offer? Because if that's the case, then we need to move right on into number 2, and there shouldn't be any more discussion about number 1. But my understanding when we left that meeting was that we needed more time. Now, here's what's important about it. I don't want this guy, or I'm sorry, Mr. Dunn, waiting around for us if we've already moved on to a number 2.
Right. And Ms. Irvin can confirm, we spoke with him, and I communicated to Mr. Dunn that the council would not approve the 122. And, he stated that he would not take anything less. And thank you for the interview, and that was it.
Okay, well, members, I just want to remind you that we don't hire people on this board. That is the function of staff, and I just hated that we lost a candidate because, in my opinion, some members weren't comfortable or weren't ready. This application process had occurred. Did it occur in December? The interview process?
The interview process, was it November, December? Yeah, it was December, because we
We actually did the interviews in February.
In February.
Right.
So, and that was interviews after they had been through the evaluation committee?
Correct. The evaluation started maybe late December, early January. Started the reducing the number of applicants. It was a very large applicant pool. It was reduced down to, I believe, about 25 applicants. We mailed questionnaires to further reduce that number of applicants. 21 applicants responded from that questionnaire, and the committee rated the responses, and we selected the top 5 applicants to interview.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, we stand adjourned.